Welcome back to this new video. In this video, I'll be showing you how I made this simple top. This is very easy. So let's get started. These are the two different ways you can make this top. It's basically the same measurement, except that the front is more pointed and the side is shorter than the front for this first picture. The next picture, the side is shorter than the front, but not as short as in the first picture. The measurements you're going to be needing is the shoulder, the bust, the sleeve length, and the blouse length. First, you want to fold these into two, like you have seen right here. And when you fold, you want to make sure that you measure to make sure that that part is wide enough for your hip. So you want to divide the hip into four, and you want to put like 3 to 4 inches of allowances for that hip measurement because it's going to be a free top. Now you want to measure the shoulder. I'm using a shoulder of 16 inches. You divide that by 2, that will be 8. And then you add your allowance. You can do half an inch of sewing allowance, or you can do 1 inch of sewing allowance. Then I want to measure around 10 inches from wherever my shoulder stopped at, and that is just to help me to gauge where to measure the bust from. For the bust, I'm using 47 inches. If you divide that by 4, you're going to get 11.75. Or if you want to do the division on your tape, just fold into 2, you'll get 23. And then you fold again into 2, and you should arrive at 11.75. In this case, depending on what you're doing. Again, I'm using 47 inches for the bust. So that is what I'm going to mark there. I'm going to mark the 11.75 plus 1 inch allowance. So that gave me 12.75. And then now I'm just measuring a half length right there. But the only reason I'm doing that is for me to be able to measure where the hip measurement will start from. So that right there, from that point, I'm going to now do 8 inches down, or you can do 9 inches depending on how tall the person is. So right there where I measured the 8 inches is now going to serve as where I'm going to be measuring for the hip. So in this case, I'm using a hip of 55 inches in total. And again, this is going to be a free top. So I'm going to add 5 more inches to that. So that gives me 60 inches. And if you divide that by 4, that is going to be about 15 inches. All right. So you had your allowance to that, and that is what you're going to get. Now, the length of the top, I'm going to be using a length of 26 inches. But then one side of the top is going to be 26, and then the center is going to be 4 inches more. So what I measured earlier will be 30 inch. And then right here, I'm going to measure my 26 inches plus whatever allowance I decide to use. So I'm using 1.5 inches of allowance. Half is for the joining at the shoulder, and 1 inch will be for the extra down there for the hemming. So what I'm doing now is I measured that 26 and I added 4 more to give me the 30 inches. So that is the measurement. So the middle is longer than the side. Now, if you want the front to be more pointed, you'll just have to make the side shorter, maybe like 6 to 8 inches shorter than the front. Next, connect the 26-inch measurement on the side to the 30-inch measurement on the front. So you're going to have a slant when you do that. Next, let's shape the armhole. I'm just going to use the curve ruler, and I'm going to connect the measurement of the shoulder to where I have the bust measurement, where it ended right there. So that is what I'm doing now. And then we're going to connect and join from that point all the way down to the side of this top where we measured for the hip. Now remember that the side was shorter. When we measured the length for the side, we had it shorter. So wherever that ends is where we're going to connect these two. Now we're going to cut this following the markings that we made on the fabric. This is the front piece, and you can make this back piece exactly the same as what we have here, and that should be okay. You just make sure the neckline is big enough for you. But in this case, I want to make, in this particular top, I want to put a zipper. I made two different tops. One of them I did not put a zipper. For this particular one, I want to put a zipper. So again, you can either put a zipper or not put one. It's a free blouse, and you should be able to use it without a zipper. But I just decided to put a zipper on this one. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm just aligning the fabric to two pieces of fabric that I'm going to be using as the back piece. So I'm going to be leaving 1 to 2 inches at the end for my zipper allowance. Using the front as a template, now just cut the shape out from the other fabric so that you now have the front and the back. So now we have the front, which is the folded part, and then we have the two pieces at the back. That is where the zipper goes right there. So you can see that there was a zip allowance. That is about, you can leave between 1 to 2 inches there, depending on your preference. Now let's drop the neckline, and I'm going to be using a depth of 4 inches, and then the width is going to be 5 inches. You can do between 4 and 5 inches, but I'm going to use 5 inches right here. Again, you can do 4 by 4, but I'm doing 4 by 5. Next, we're going to join those two points together to form a neckline. And notice that I'm measuring from the folded part, because remember the other part is a zip allowance. So the front and the back is exact same measurement. So we're cutting now, and after that we're going to do a slant at the shoulder. So for the slant, you can do anything between half to 1.5 inches. So I'm just doing about 0.75 right there. Next, I'm going to work on the sleeve, and that is why you have to measure your armhole to see what you have for the armhole. I'm going to be using this scrap fabric for the sleeves, and I'm going to be just checking to make sure that I have enough. So I'm just folding it to form a triangle. I'm going to need a sleeve length of 14 inches, but we know our armhole is 12 inches, so I'm just checking to make sure I will have enough for my armhole. So I'm going to see to make sure I have that 14 inch plus 1.5 inches for my sewing allowance. So I'm looking for around 15.5 inches, and because this is a scrap fabric, I'm just checking to make sure I have enough for that. So that's where my 14 inches will be from the bottom there. So I just want to check what's the difference from there to the top, and that's going to be where I'm going to start measuring the length. So I'm just measuring that across at the top there, because I'm going to use that again to be from where I'm going to be measuring from. Now the top, the sleeve I'm making is a Flutter sleeve, and you'll see a video of that I did earlier that really explains that at length how to make that Flutter sleeve. I'm going to link that to this video. If you would like to see that, please check that video. It explains it in depth. So now what I'm going to start doing is to start measuring my 14 plus the 1.5. That's going to be 15.5. So that is what I'm going to measure across using that line as my starting point. Connect the marks that you have on the fabric, and after that you cut the fabric. Now I'm going to start from where I have the full fold, and I just want to see where I can make up 12 because the armhole is 12. So that's what I'm checking here. This is going to be a little steep because I'm working with just this leftover scrap fabric, so it may look a little stiff. So once I got that point, I marked that point where I have around 12, and then I'm beginning to draw like a stretched S kind of, so that's what I'm doing here. I'm just putting that there. I'm joining from where I have the fold all the way to where I've measured the 12, and now we're going to cut that. And I'm just gonna put a notch right there, and that is the sleeve. We're just going to open it up now for you to see what it looks like. Now I'm going to cut the facing for the neckline. So I just take a scrap of fabric, fold it into two, and then I'm gonna take the front and I will align it. I'll make sure the fold are aligned together. The fold at the front will be aligned to the fold on the scrap of fabric, and then we're going to trace the neckline and then the shoulder slant and cut. After cutting the neckline, you now measure how wide you want the facing to be. I'm using 3 inches, and you can use 4 or you can use less. So I'm gonna measure all of that from the neckline all the way to the shoulder slant, and once that is done, I'm gonna join those lines and I'll cut the facing. I'm going to do likewise for the back. The only difference is that for the back I'll cut that facing into 2 because we have 2 pieces for the back. Now we're going to attach some fusible interfacing onto the facing. You iron those on, and then we're going to start joining the facing onto the fabric. So you're going to take the front one and you will join it to the front fabric. So you just align them like that, and then you go to your sewing machine and you just sew that across. You take the 2 pieces at the back and you're going to do exact same thing. You're going to take the interfacing, but when you place that on, at the part where you have the zip allowance, you're going to turn that in and place the interfacing on top of that before you sew it. That is what you're seeing me doing now. After attaching the facing, you're going to just put some little cut all around it for the front and the back, Be careful not to get too close to your stitches and be careful not to cut into your stitches. This is necessary because it helps you to prevent having any form of bulk around the neckline when you turn that facing. Next you have the zipper, so you align the back part, and depending on the length of the zipper you will measure that length but making it less by 1 inch, and then you're going to sew from that part to the end of your top at the back. I have a very detailed video on how to attach zippers, so I am linking that to this video as well. You stitch from where you see me mark that fabric all the way to the end, so you will leave the upper part open, and then you go to your sewing machine and attach your zipper. Once your zipper is in, you're going to take the front and you take the back and you align them together right side to right side. Now, remember I mentioned that you do not need to put a zipper. The second one I made did not have a zipper. So in that case, you are actually going to skip the step of adding a zipper. So we should also make it faster and quicker for you. So if you did not have a zipper, this is just the stage you come to. You just take the front and the back, you align them right side to right side, and then you're going to go to the shoulder and you're going to sew from that middle one way, and then you go to the start from the middle, you sew the other way again, and you're going to do that on the other side as well. Next step is to add the sleeves. Open up the fabric like that at the shoulder, and then you're going to align your sleeve to the shoulder as well. So where you have the notch, that's where you're going to match to the shoulder joining of that fabric. Doing right side facing right side, align that sleeve to the fabric, and then you're going to go to the sewing machine and you're going to sew it from one end, from that center to one end, and then you'll go back and start from the center where you have the joining and you're going to sew it to the other end, and you're going to do likewise for the second sleeve. I'm going to make some bias strips for the edge of the sleeves. You don't have to if you don't want to. You can just hem the edge of the sleeve and that should be okay. But I just want to put some bias strips, and I'm linking another video where I show you how to make bias strips as well. So this is what I'm doing right here. I'm just cutting this so I can make some strips of fabric to go around the edge of the sleeve. Now you're going to join the strips of fabric together and you're going to put it round at the bottom. You put it across from one end of the sleeve to the other. You'll start from the wrong side and then you're going to put it there and fold it over. So it's going to be like when you're adding a bias tape around an edge. And again, see my videos on how to do that. So this is what you're going to be having when you're done with the edge of the sleeve. This is what it's going to look like after you have attached the bias strip at the edge of the sleeve. And so next we're just going to join the sides together. So from the wrong side of the fabric, you're going to now align the edge of the sleeves together, and you're going to join the side of the sleeves, and then you go down to the side of the top, you join all of that together, and you'll do likewise for the other side of the top as well. Once that is done, the next step will be to hem the bottom of the top, and that is going to complete this project. This is what it's looking like after joining the sides. And here is what the final product looks like. I have added some rhinestones at the front of the top just to give it some sparkle. I am linking my video on how to add rhinestones to your fabric if you want to. Don't forget to check out my other videos. I have put some links on this particular video so that you can see other videos by me. Please do remember to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And please remember to leave me a thumbs up for this video. Thank you all for your support. I appreciate it. Hope to see you in the next video.